Hi, I hope this finds you all great. I just wanted to have a really quick chat about the brain, and some of the information that I'm going to share with you was a real mind blow for me, and I couldn't actually believe that we hadn't been told this information beforehand. So all this information I picked up from a lecturer of mine when I was doing a leadership program. It was all about emotional intelligence, and the idea was that once you could better understand yourself and why things happen the way they do, the better you can manage yourself, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that you have control of is you and how you react to different situations. And if you can understand yourself a little bit better and why we all work the way we do, it then makes that process a lot easier. So I wanted to share with you about the brain. You'll have to excuse my drawing because it's pretty bad. So the main areas we're going to talk about is the cortex, so the front of the brain, the limbic system, which is in the middle part of the brain, the reptilian area, which is right at the back where your spine comes up, and then the amygdala. So first of all, a bit of an update of what everything actually does. The limbic system, this frontal part of the area, is where you have is your frontal cortex. So this part of the brain is responsible for your executive functions. So paying attention, strategies, what if this happened, what could I do, planning, decision making, self-regulation, willpower, self-regulation. All of that happens in this frontal area of the brain. Now, this doesn't actually fully develop until we're 19 to 24 years of age. So that's where it's a bit tricky with the kids. That paying attention, strategizing, what's going to happen if I do this, what will happen next. So it's not fully developed until we're 19 to 24 years of age. And of course, that's an ish, and it's different in every person, but science has stated between those two ages. The decision making, if I do this, what's going to happen next, strategizing, all right? So that's all part of this cortex, frontal cortex. Your limbic system, that's where all of your habits, memories, emotions, all of that emotional processing, that's where all that takes place. The reptilian, which is the oldest part of the brain, which is there in place for eating, resting, and exercise. That's all that sort of takes care of, and that's something that hasn't changed since eons. All right, so that's the one bit that hasn't actually evolved as we have evolved. And then you've got your amygdala, which is an almond site, and that sits within your limbic system, all right, into that middle bit. Now, the main job for our brain is to keep us alive, and it's done a pretty good job. It hasn't evolved a great deal. Yes, we've got different functions, but its key and core focus is to keep us alive at all costs. It's actually wired negatively, so we're at a disadvantage to start with. But there's some things we can do once we understand why our brain works the way it is that can help us along in the process and managing ourselves better, okay? So all of our thought processes come through our limbic system, okay? Everything we think, we actually will feel it before we will see it. That's our emotional part of our brain, and all of our thought process will go through that. That's on 24/7 a day. It doesn't shut off, and it doesn't actually need any fuel to function. All right, so that's just autopilot. That'll just keep happening, no problem at all. It's funny because we say that as women we can do more than one thing, whereas men generally stating, I'm a woman, I can do more than one thing at once. Your brain actually can't. The limbic system is on autopilot all of the time. Your frontal cortex can only do one thing at a time, okay? So it can't make a decision, it can't strategize, and it can't plan and do all of these different things at the same time. What actually happens is when we're doing multiple tasks or multitasking is our limbic system is taking care of whatever it normally does because we don't have to think, and then our frontal cortex isn't being used. So when you're driving along and you're in a new area and you don't know where you're going, you'll instantly turn the radio down. That's not going to help you get to where you need to go, but what that is doing is quietening the noise so that your your frontal cortex can kick in and actually have to do its job. You lean forward, you're concentrating a little bit more, because before the limbic system was on autopilot, it knew exactly where it was going, and now you don't know where you're going. Limbic system goes, nah, I'm out. Frontal cortex kicks in, and then you need to concentrate and focus on the one thing. So that's why the radio goes down. You lean forward and you're actually more engaged because you've swapped parts of your brain. So we're not that clever. The brain just doesn't work that way. So, as I say, they're the key areas of the brain. Now, the really interesting thing is the frontal cortex, this cortex area, actually needs fuel for it to work, okay? So it needs dopamine. Dopamine's produced by glucose. So the problem with this is the only way you can get your dopamine is through good quality glucose, sleep, good quality sleep, exercise, all right, laughter, meditation, positive, that sort of stuff. But it doesn't just refuel, all right? So remember decision making, okay? So I've just come off night shift, let's just say. Haven't slept very much, haven't eaten. I get home and I cannot for the life of me. I get home and the kids are asking me something. I need to try and remember what's going on and put a plan together of what's happening in the day. My brain goes, I ain't got no fuel, sorry. Don't bother asking me because I can't strategize, I can't plan. My coping mechanisms aren't there, so don't ask that of me. Feed me, let me get some sleep, and then ask me, 100% I'm there. So the dopamine levels need to be replenished ongoing. If they're not, it's like fuel in your car. When it's out, that's it. You're not going to get anything from me. I'm not going to strategize. I can't plan. I'm hopeless. All right. So keeping in mind when you ask a family member, what do you want for dinner? Or where should we go? And they're like, I don't know. Or they seem to be giving you a hard time. It's actually that their frontal cortex is going, no, actually, I can't plan. I can't strategize. Just feed me and then we can talk. It's that whole, really being hungry and not being able to concentrate and getting hangry. That's why that is there. The other interesting thing about is that glucose level that we need to replenish the dopamine is, as women, around our cycle, when the PMS is hitting in, we actually need 30% more glucose. Yep. So when you go to the cupboard and you just want to inhale everything that's in there, that's your brain actually saying, I need more fuel to function properly. So go to the good quality glucose, chocolate. Oh no, it tastes good, but it's not going to do its job. So good quality food and fuel for your brain to be able to keep functioning. All right. And that'll get rid of those, don't look at me because right now I can't function and I can't make a decision and I can't handle this right now. Your brain is actually telling you, fuel me, feed me, give me more so I can do my job. All right, so keep that in mind, 30%. So those who have got other women in their world, whether it's, younger girls or siblings or whatever it is, keep that in mind as well at that certain cycle time, good quality glucose, and it'll help with that process and it'll keep their brain switched on as well. So I just want to talk pretty quickly about the amygdala. I can't even say the word amygdala. So as I said to you before, our brain's job is to keep us alive, okay? Now, this little is an almond shape, and that's where it gets its name from. Apparently, it's a Greek word for almond. This little dude sits in our brain, and its job, that's the whole flight or fight mechanism, okay? So, back when we were cavemen and women, and we were running through, and saber-toothed tigers were everywhere, and we were running for our life, what happens is, and it hasn't evolved past this, so keep that in mind, all right? So what happens is your brain goes, holy crap, we're going to get eaten alive. Amygdala goes, right, boys, shut down. I've got this covered. So the first thing that will happen is frontal cortex gets shut off. The amygdala overrides everything and cuts everything off. So what happens then is your frontal cortex, or your cortex, which is, remember, your strategies, decision-making, planning, gets shut off because your amygdala goes, no, guys, we don't need you right now. We're running for our life. We're fearing for our life. I've got this. Shuts us off completely. What happens there is your body is then filled with adrenaline to the major muscle groups. So arms and legs, that's why you get the shakes and you just, because again, your body's going, right, we need to run for our life, or we need to move a car, or we need to drag a human and save our lives, okay? So the muscle groups, major muscle groups, get that massive flood of adrenaline. And then the other thing that happens, which isn't great for our body, just to say, is that the cortisol gets released through our body as well. So our digestive system is shut down because our brain, the amygdala, is taken over and saying, right now we don't need the blood flow to the digestive system. We need to send all of our blood and all of our resources to our major muscle groups because we need to run. We're fight or flight right now, guys. Shut everything down that's not necessary. All right? So our digestive systems get shut down and our body is flooded with both adrenaline and cortisol. You also stop producing dopamine because it gets shut off. There's no need for your cortex to be working right now because the amygdala says, guys, my job, let's save our life. All right. Now that was all well and good back in the cavemen days when we needed to save our life and those kind of things were happening. The problem is if we don't have our emotions and our emotional intelligence under control, what happens is our body has the same response. take for example, I walk past the dishes in the sink. I've walked past them 4 or 5 times and I've asked 4 or 5 times, will you just wash your cup? Will you just wash your cup? Well, this one day, I haven't had a good night's sleep. I'm really hungry, whatever it happens to be. Frontal cortex, strategy's out the window, planning's gone. I lose my lolly, right? Now, my brain doesn't actually know that I'm not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. It has the same response because the emotions that I've just sent up to my brain is, I'm going to fight or flight. Cortex gets shut down. Dopamine shut off. No need for it again. Cortex is taken, amygdala hijack, right? So what's happened is my amygdala has taken over my brain, flooded with adrenaline. Cortisol's gone through, digestive system off. And now I've absolutely lost my lolly. And I've lost it. Now, the brain's done a great job because I've actually told my brain that it's a fight or flight. That's my emotional intelligence, and my lack of holding it together and being able to process that has told my brain, guys, fight or flight, gotta go. It's the same as if I was going down the Monash and there was a head-on coming my way. Same response. So what happens there is 20 minutes my frontal cortex is shut off for. All right? My voice is gone for 5 to 7 seconds because back when the saber-tooth was chasing me, I needed to be quiet. So my brain actually shuts the capability off. And that's why a lot of people will say, I screamed, but nothing came out. It's your brain, again, keeping you alive. So 5 to 7 seconds, you will have no voice. So it doesn't matter what happens, nothing's going to come out. You might get a squeak. Your facial expressions will change, microseconds. You'll have a look on your face that you don't even realize that you've got. And then your heart rate, shortness of breath, red face, shakes, potential sweats, all of that stuff is 5 to 8 minutes. All right? But for 20 minutes, your frontal cortex is not going to come back into play. So once I've lost my lolly, don't come talking to me. My face will go back to normal. My voice will come back. I'll have the shakes for a little bit because I'll be angry. But this part of my brain, my decision making, my strategizing, and my planning is gone. So don't even bother. Leave me be. Give me a moment to get everything back in. 20 minutes later, then come back and talk to me. But the real doozy is every time that I relive that story with that same emotional intensity, bang, amygdala will kick in again. So we're in a meeting at work and a colleague of mine has got up and stolen my thunder, all right? And I am livid, right? Amygdala hijack. I walk out, I go to the tea room, and I relay this story to a colleague, a different colleague. And I am still so upset, and the emotion is still raging through. Bang, again. So whack, up I go again. 20 minutes, my frontal cortex is out. Again, my body's been flooded with adrenaline, cortisone, digestive system shut down and shot. And it keeps happening until I get my emotions under control and I stop flicking that hijack into mode. So I can be going through hijacks all day. Every time I retell a story or every time something like that happens, bang, up I go. And you can imagine the effect that has on your body. Your digestive system being shut down for a start, the adrenaline being flooded through your body. But not only that, the people around you, if you're being amygdala hijacked every other minute, mate, they don't even know what's going on. So it's really, really, it's imperative that you understand your hot buttons and your points and what's going to get you to flip. And to step back a little bit and get some strategies and some tools around all of that. And that comes from mindfulness and